Hello and a very warm welcome to our video number 5 on the importance of practical resource management. This time, Alasdair and I will be discussing situational awareness, and this is another key component in our practical resource management model. We plan to look at a few ideas around situational awareness that could make a difference to safety and performance. So stay put, and I welcome you, Alasdair. Hi.
Hi, Tenica. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you again too. So we already have covered some communications and leadership points, as well as introducing the model and talking about context. And as you remind us, each time of these ideas are linked together. So how would you introduce the subject of situational awareness?
Well, it's essentially about building a comprehensive picture of all the relevant activity that's going on in the environment around you. And we use that situational awareness to support decision making, both on a continuing basis in terms of monitoring performance, but also at key fundamental decision points. The process of developing this awareness across a team is multifaceted and it's very dynamic.
Yeah.
It depends on teamwork and communications to be at its most useful. So straight away, we can see connections across our model.
Yeah. So as usual, it's a large subject. Can you break it down for us?
Sure, there's a well-accepted model that discusses 3 stages in generating situational awareness. The first stage is about gaining perception, what's going on, establishing comprehension, a little bit more analysis about what that actually means, and then developing projection, what's going to happen next, what's going to happen in the future. And while it's convenient to think of these 3 stages as separate, in reality, all 3 can be happening concurrently and largely unconsciously. Think of driving a car down a street with lots of parked cars. There could be kids riding bikes along the pavement, perhaps a parent out pushing a buggy, someone else running for a bus. And all the time we're cycling through the processes of perception, what's going on outside my window, of comprehension, hang on, that child has just disappeared between 2 parked cars, and projection. So that bus has been at the stop for a while now, and the guy sprinting for it still has to cross the road if he's going to catch it. So each stage relies on success at the previous step. We couldn't project that someone might be about to run across the road if we hadn't comprehended that he was running for that bus. And if that comprehension wouldn't have taken place had we not perceived the runner or the bus. So each stage relies on the previous one succeeding. And there are pitfalls at each stage that could trip us up. The good news, though, is that supportive teamwork can help us overcome some of these traps as long as team members are empowered and as long as leaders are ready to actively listen.
That's a great example. So what do you mean by that? How would teamwork support this?
Well, if everyone is liable to interpret the same situation in different ways, and it's not always the case that the more senior you are, the more right you are. So when someone junior has a different perception, he must be able to share it. After all, he could be right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that only happens when the leadership environment encourages it, right?
Yeah, correct. And additionally, we all see things from our own perspective. So the views of some may very well be more insightful than others just because of the way they've been looked at. And with a functioning, supportive team, with empowered team members, the leader's able to step back, measure, engage the input from others, and make a balanced and informed judgment. There's a risk that when leaders get stuck in with their sleeves rolled up, they lose sight of the big picture. And the temptation to jump in can be overwhelming, but we're very easily distracted, and it can be very damaging to situational awareness when that happens.
Yeah.
So the solution is an empowered team and mutual trust.
Yeah. So you've made that case for teamwork and communications as important tools in developing good situational awareness. Are there any other issues we should be careful about?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. For example, there's a number of cognitive biases we need to be aware of. Firstly, as leaders, that they may be present in our team members, but also in our own thinking. So we need to take that into account as we move towards decision making. I think I've got time just to mention a couple. Confirmation bias, that's a tendency to listen and accept more openly information that confirms what we already believe, while rejecting stuff that supports something that is not our existing belief. There's a primacy bias where we tend to recall information presented at the start of a discussion or a process. And there's also a recency bias where others might be tending to recall the last thing that they were presented with. So the way our memories and cognitive processes work is a whole other interesting area which we could maybe discuss another time. But we're not going to stop these biases from happening. So we need to be alive to the possibility that they might be happening around us.
I love these biases explanation. It's great. I'd love to know more about it. So, but are there any other traps you think we should be aware of?
There's a couple, I suppose, that we could quickly mention. One is cultural and shouldn't be underestimated. You know, in multicultural teams, the way people contribute and behave isn't uniform, and this may inadvertently lead to confusion or gaps in information. So solutions here revolve around really knowing your team members and what you can expect from them, and communication.
Yeah, and in the other?
I think fatigue is important. Our cognitive performance drops dramatically when we're tired, and just as worrying, at the same time, our judgment is so impaired by this fatigue that we can't actually recognize how badly our performance has deteriorated. So that's another one to watch out for in team members and in leaders. But imagine a supportive and informed team member being comfortable enough to question a leader's judgment on the basis that he recognized his leader's sleep-deprived situation.
How fantastic would that be if we have that culture? Yes, it's becoming even clearer of how all these key pillars are connected together. The right leadership environments promotes an effective team, and this helps good communication, which in turn means situational awareness is better all around, and this will improve your decision making. So as usual, these are all very simple ideas, and this is absolutely fantastic. But I guess once more, you haven't even scratched the surface, am I right?
Yeah, afraid so. This could be the subject of many days' discussion.
Yeah.
But I think as our time's limited, we could probably stop here, maybe dig into it more in another session. But I think you're keen to move on to something else for next time.
Yes, let's look at the last pillar of practical resource management and planning and decision making. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, I look forward to that as well, Tineke. Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you next time.
Next time, thanks. Bye.